Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
What's happening, everybody? I'm Alex FG.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
What's going on? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me over, man.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that, Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
I'm a rapper. I'm 23. Mm-hmm. I'm living in Vancouver.
Oh, hey.
And I try to, most of the time I make hip hop music, but I do make a little bit of rock and roll too every now and then.
Oh yeah, no, I was checking out some of your music and I could definitely hear some of that in there.
I appreciate it.
But we'll dig into that in just a little bit. Let's go right back to the beginning. What got you started in music initially?
I think, so my dad's a drummer, so I kind of always had a little bit of a connection with music.
Yeah.
And so that was the initial connection, but with hip hop, God, dude, what was the first? I think the first rapper that I got introduced to was Big L, actually.
Oh, hell yeah.
And which is crazy because I was 9 listening to Big L and of all people, But yeah, so when I heard hip hop, which was different than, because I grew up on rock and roll, and so when I heard hip hop, it was something that I could express myself, a way for me to express myself that didn't require me to learn how to play guitar or sing or something. And so that was a big start for me with it. It was just a way to express myself.
Gotcha. And now, do you play any instruments now, or are you still just mainly hip hop?
Trying to pick up guitar. Guitar's a challenge.
It's an interesting instrument. I'm a bass player personally, and I can do guitar, but it's one of those things where it's just the imagining shapes with your hand and then moving them to a million places. It for some people it they just latch onto it instantly, and for some people it just takes a minute. Yeah,
for me it's the little techniques. So I can get the general gist down, and then I struggle with just if there's 3, if I need to have my fingers in 3 spots, two out of the 3 will be good, and the third one will be off.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
thinking it's good, it's just a bit of a challenge.
No, definitely. And
it's
I think
fun, though.
As a vocalist, I think it can be useful just to be able to have being able to hear the movement of music underneath, and then you could still give it to somebody and be like, hey, this is what I was playing when I wrote it.
Absolutely.
Play things that are like this.
Yeah, make it sound like
yeah, so it's good to have for translating, and it's a little more portable than keys technically. So
That's why I like it.
Yeah, it's a good instrument to have, and it's a little more full sounding than ukulele.
I like guitar because I have an acoustic, and the reason why I like guitar is because if you know how to play, and you know how to play good enough to play while you sing, and you'd like to sing even if it's not a crazy good, if you're not a crazy good singer, but just being able to just make music on the spot is just really dope.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And if you end up doing it, and then somebody is like, hey, I can play that while you do your thing, you could just hand it to them, and suddenly you're doing a collaborative experience.
Yeah, like you see on the streets and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit's always cool. I like that.
Hell yeah. And then before we get into what you're doing in the present day, I have a couple foundation questions I check in with everybody on.
Okay.
And this first one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Illmatic by Nas.
Hell yeah.
That one was like $5 at the mall. I went to the mall and it was in like one of the little clearance buckets.
Yeah.
And I picked it up for $5. Looking back on it, I can't believe that thing was $5.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I still have that CD actually.
Hell yeah.
I have all the CDs that I've ever bought. I've bought a lot of CDs, but well, not a lot. Like, I don't have a crazy collection, but I got like 30.
That's a good amount.
It was either that or it was 1X by 3 Days Grace. I don't remember. Well, I don't think I bought that. I might have bought that with like my money. I'm pretty sure I like scrounged up like change from around the house when I was a little kid to buy that. But
hey, that counts.
Yeah.
That counts. But hey, I mean, either way, those are both very solid options for early experiences.
It was great.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to? So like you saw it was happening, got tickets and went to it.
Oh, I didn't go to a concert until like a year or two ago. The first concert, no, it's a lie. The first one that I went to was Ryan Caraveo. Have you ever heard of Ryan Caraveo?
Name actually offhand does not ring a bell.
He's from Seattle. He's a pretty dope rapper. And I went to see him and he was a great show. So that was the first one. The one that came to mind though was Joey Badass. I saw Joey Badass
hell yeah.
like 2 years ago and that show was...
Well, I bet that was rad.
Dude, it was crazy. I loved it. It was awesome.
Who else was on the bill with him?
I don't remember. It was mainly him, and then he had one opener, and the opener had like a 10-minute set, but I don't know the opener's name.
Okay.
And then they had like a DJ set before that, so it was cool.
Hell yeah. Well, it's still, it's pretty badass.
Dude, it was cool. Yeah, it was good though, man, because he had just dropped his new album and I had been waiting. Well, no, he hadn't dropped it yet. He was going to drop it in like a few days. And so while we were waiting to meet him, because I got the tickets to meet him and shit. And so while we were waiting to meet him, they had like the album playing and stuff.
Oh, dope.
So it was pretty cool. Like everybody was just kind of like vibing in line waiting.
Yeah.
It was cool.
I dig that.
Yeah.
And then before we officially get into you in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I was walking home from school. I remember it was 2014, and I don't remember why. Like, I don't think either of the two things are related, but what I remember is I saw this cat chasing a squirrel, and I was like, God damn, he's going hard trying to get that squirrel. And then for some reason, by the time I got home, I knew I wanted to be a rapper. I don't know what flicked the switch, but like I was already doing it. Like I already had like shoeboxes like full of songs, but like that was where I was like, oh, okay, like I really want to do this. I don't know why. I just like had like a switch one day, I guess. I can't even like name the day, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were able to name the year. I was like,
yeah,
got it.
Yeah, I got that in there.
And, you know, it's interesting. Somebody else had not like the same, but a similar-esque story. It was Larissa Birdseye.
Oh, really?
Larissa. And she like had a moment where she was like ready to like kind of give up on music, I believe, or like, I forget the story. I apologize. I do a lot of these interviews, but she said she like went outside one day and like saw two squirrels chasing each other. And she was like, this is it. This is a sign.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, you know, maybe I don't know, man. But that's what I remember. Like, I very vividly remember the cat chasing the squirrel, and that was the same day. I don't know why I remember it so well, but I do.
Hey, I mean,
my memory's not even that.
Shout out to that cat.
Yeah,
and hopefully the squirrel if you're still around.
Yeah, whatever happened, shout out to both of them.
Yeah,
for existing for sure.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean that's a really cool moment. Thank you for sharing. But now let's go ahead and let's get on into you in the present day. And we're going to get a super easy one out of the way. How'd you pick the name?
So it used to mean Future Gang. FG used to mean Future Gang. Because I was like 14 when I made the name. And I was like, that is too close to Future. I was like, you know, I don't really like that. So I switched it to Filthy Gang. And I came up with filthy because I always just like call things filthy, you know, like, oh, that's filthy. Like, I love saying that. And then it's also like, I think it kind of has its own meaning to it because I think it has like a bit of a negative connotation where like people kind of, you know, like they say something's filthy and like a lot of times people say it like they're being really hateful and like they're really pissed off. And like, I think like how I say it, you know, I say it as something cool, you know?
Yeah, I come from the world of like dubstep to a degree. So like that is definitely a positive connotation.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like for me, I think it kind of translates to me where it's like, I feel like I'm kind of like redefining who I am with the name and redefining myself, because like some people may look at me as this way, but you know, in reality, I'm this. I'm not what they see necessarily.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. But then I guess is Alex your real name?
Yes.
Okay, so that explains the first.
Yes.
I was like, maybe he went with a different name altogether.
No.
That would be a bit of a twist if you're like, I just like the name Alex. But
Yeah.
it's actually Terrence.
My real name's Clarence.
Yeah, but no, but that's I dig that for sure. And I will be honest, it's very simple, super
Mm-hmm.
easy to remember. You didn't spell it any weird ways or add in any stuff, and you'll always respond to it when people like say, "Hey, Alex," you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I like that too. That was like a part of it too. It's just like, it's me. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
still me, and people can just call me Alex. Like, if I introduce myself, it's like, hey, I'm Alex. I'm not fucking whatever my stage name would be.
yeah, exactly. Now, I guess was that just the first one you went with? Have you ever had any other names?
That was it.
Damn. Well, I did. Hey, kudos to you for keeping it long running from the start.
I never had a nickname in my life. So, like, I never been like, I don't know. Nicknames are cool, but, like, I just never really, like, attached myself to any of them, you know?
Yeah.
I never really, like, had one that stuck with me.
No, I dig that. But hey, yeah, I mean, you're rocking with this one now, and it definitely works. So keep going.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Yeah. But now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So
Okay.
when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
Find a beat. That's usually the first step.
Mhm. And do
Do
you?
that,
Oh, sorry.
or like I have a thought kind of running through my head for the day,
Mhm.
and so I kind of just find a way to express it.
Gotcha. And as far as like beats go, do you like find them online? Do you have like people who you get them from?
On
Or?
YouTube, dude.
Okay.
Like I spend hours on YouTube finding beats. That's one of the main things that I do with my time. Is
Yeah.
I spend so much time on YouTube finding beats and looking through them, and I enjoy doing it that way. I like working with local people. Sometimes I'm a very not like picky with my beats. Like I can hit any beat.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I want to write and record and, you know, really put my time and effort into on my own, it's something that I kind of need to vibe with
Yeah.
just naturally. And so, like, I don't oftentimes, like, have it where somebody sends me something and I'm like, oh, I want to work with that. But, like, I've worked with the MMP and then my boy Ethan, Meganar, he produced my song Washed Away. That's somebody that I know personally that has produced one of my songs.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like, I think the only one though that's in that bracket.
I gotcha. Yeah, and I mean nowadays it's like there are so many beats available through the like it's easy to kind of like finger through them like you would if you were looking for, you know, like just a record or something like that. And to be able to like compile a rip of them, I think is, you know, a good way to go about it.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you more options, but it also it gives you more options, and for me, it doesn't necessarily change how much I write.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like I'm able to stumble across things that are meant for me to do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Now, when you find like beats, do you usually just kind of put them away, or do you often like find one and you're like, oh, I got to write over this right this very second?
It's usually a combination of both.
Okay.
I'll usually like find the beat, come up with something on it that makes me like sure that I want to save it. Because I've had to make a Watch Later 2 on my YouTube. Like I had to make literally had to title it Watch Later 2 because my Watch Later got full. It's like 5,000 in it. So usually I'll find a beat and then I'll figure out something I want to write to it, or I'll have something that I want to write to it. And then usually I finish it later on.
Yeah. And do you mostly do like, you know, the metaphorical pen to paper? Do you freestyle, or like how do you go about like actually structuring the words?
I usually make it on my phone.
Okay.
But like in terms of like the structure of the words, like what I'll do is like I forget the term, but it's where you kind of just blabber, like, you know, and you just there's an actual term for it though. Like there's people that used to do it back in the day, and I'm sure they still do.
Well, it's like the Beatles did, like what's the name, did bacon and eggs for a lot of things. Like you would put in words that would be later replaced with the real words.
Yeah.
Just had like the cadence, they had the feel
exactly
of what it was like melodically supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do a lot of the time, and in my head, then I'll come up with the words, and then I'll type it out on my phone.
Oh yeah.
So, and then if I really, like, I used to write all my songs on paper, but now because my thoughts come so fast, like I fucking hate more than anything losing a line. Like if I actually lose it, it's rare that I actually lose it. A lot of times I'm able to get it back like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
But if I actually lose a line and I know I can't remember it, it kills me inside. And so that's why I use my phone.
No, I get that. I always come up with stuff in the shower and I'm just like, well, this is all I'm going to be thinking about for the next X amount of minutes before the shower's done.
Yeah, right. You can't lose it, but you can't like get out of the shower.
Yeah, you got to finish what you can't just like run out and grab your phone all wet and just.
I've done that before though.
See, I always try to have like my phone in the room so I can tell Siri to take a note.
Oh, dude, I never fucking thought of that.
You're just like, hey, Siri, write this down real quick.
Yeah, that's actually a way better idea, dude. Yeah. I need to do that.
It's helpful, except for when, like I said, when you leave her in the other room, then you just have to yell.
Yeah.
If you're like, I hope I left the door open enough. Hey!
I hope the neighbors are going to enjoy this one.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I could dig that. And then once you get a track finished writing, like it doesn't have to be like released and put out per se, but once it's like finished, where all the words are there, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable with it to a point where you can perform it?
Oh, immediately.
Okay.
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually. Let's say a week, to be fair. But like a lot of times it's immediate because a lot of times when I'm making a song, I care a lot about how everything comes together all cohesively. I try to be, at least. And so what I'll do is like, I'll kind of make it quickly. And if I'm making it quickly, then I have to keep track of like everything that I'm trying to put into it. And I just try to do it that way.
Okay. No, I dig that. And I mean, I guess like for, especially people who do like, metaphorical pen to paper, you kind of are learning it as you're writing it. And then I imagine once you go in and actually record it, you're now basically practicing it in real time.
Yeah. Like, well, for me, it's like, I'll go line by line, and a lot of times I'll rewind it and rap it from the beginning. And so usually it's like, I'm just rapping lines over and over and over to make new ones. And that's how it ends up just being naturally memorized. Yeah,
that I'm sure it helps as far as like making sure you can actually do the whole track and like figuring out where breath work needs to be and things like that, which goes a long way.
Yeah, breath work is a big one for sure.
It's something that, especially early on, I don't think people focus on quite as much as they should, but it's not really talked about a lot.
No, it's not really talked about.
Yeah.
But it's something that's very noticeable.
You could definitely tell who focuses on it when you go check them out live, for sure.
I appreciate it
very much.
I really do appreciate it when somebody's really good with it, like the boy Lala. I don't know if you've interviewed him yet, but he's a local guy and he's really good at that.
Yeah, no, I haven't yet. Shout out to Lala. Let's see if we can get him on the show. But actually, I was talking to an artist up in Seattle who I mentioned periodically for this reason, Oblate Reed, and he does this thing where like he did like track, like he did like running for like a lot of his time, and he runs a handful of miles a day, and he practices his set while he's running.
Oh yeah, he's got great breath control.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like not just
you're in shape.
Yeah, I mean
it's a big one.
It could definitely go a long way, but also I think it's cool because he will never be tired on stage.
Yeah,
because he is like by many miles he's done it 3 or 4 times. So when he gets out and goes full tilt for one set, he's good to go.
Yeah.
But now let's go ahead and let's talk about some of your music. Now, you got music going all the way back to 2021 on Spotify.
Yeah.
And your sound is very consistent. Like that was something that really stood out to me. It's like even going back to your earliest stuff, you're there, you're locked in, you've obviously been putting in the footwork, and your beat selection is strong. That is a thing I made a note about, something that really stood out to me. You've got a lot of really quality beats on there, and your attention to like the little things, I think really stands out all the way through, and I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
But I was listening to your most recent album, New Drugs for Your Mind, which just came out. It's like earlier this month.
Yeah, that shit's out now. Go get that, please. I love you. If you don't, I still love you, but less.
And it's really diverse. Like that was the first thing. Like I listened through it a couple times actually.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
It just a big thing that stood out to me was the arrangement. Now this is not, it's a little bit of an art in my opinion, because obviously the world is divided right now on if the necessity for an album is a thing or not. So when people take the time to make an album, which I'm in the same boat as you, but when people take the time to make an album, the first thing I pay attention to is like, do these songs make sense? Yes, the order strong, and it just your arrangement added this extra layer to the whole experience.
Thank you, dude. I really focused on that.
Yeah, and it shows. And what's cool is that there was never a moment where I was like, oh, this song sounds like that song, or I lost my attention because these two like run into
the
each
exact
other.
Same.
Yeah, like you have a really interesting mix of sounds all the way through, and it was a really good listen.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that a lot.
And I usually do this bit where I pick out a personal track that I enjoyed from y'all, and I did check out all of your music, but I actually went to the new album for this track, and I chose AWOL.
Dude, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, first of all, the beat slaps.
I love that beat, man.
The beat just hit.
Yeah.
But it's not just like the beat itself is really engaging. I mean, the chopped up vocal sample was really fun. And like the pitch down vocals for like the hook concept really like, and especially for being right in the beginning, it just grabs you right away. And then you brought this emotion to that track, which, like I said, you have a consistency about you, but that one had this added element, and it shows up later as well. Like you keep bringing that back through the album, but that was the first moment in it where it just like you just brought something different in that moment that made me go, oh, there's gonna be more happening in this whole thing.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate that, because that one was a bit of a weird, it's a funny one with that song, because that was actually the first one that I made when I got back from Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And I fished in Alaska over the summer to make this fucking album. And so I got back, and that was the first one I recorded. And ironically, like, I was going to leave it off the album, because it was going to be 12 songs, and that was going to be one of the 3 that I was going to leave off. And then I decided to put it on, and then I decided to put it fourth for that reason that you said, just to kind of like give you a reminder that it's like, because I feel like a lot of times with an album, like when you get to 4 and 5, you need something to kind of like jolt you.
Yeah, just to remind you that there are other elements.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, it's cool to see that your thought worked really well. And
Thank you, man.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The other tracks on the album are really cool. Like it was actually hard for me to narrow down one.
I'm just glad you have a fucking favorite. Thank
you. But y'all should definitely go listen to the whole album. If I broke down every track, we'd be doing a whole tuned in episode, and this would be hours long.
That'd be a long one.
We'll bring you back for that another time.
Hell yeah.
I am curious to know, what are some of your favorite songs of yours to perform?
Hey Baby, the second one off the album.
Mm-hmm.
That one's very fun to perform. That one, actually, I made a song because I performed it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I was going to record it, and then I needed something to perform because I broke my phone, so I just sent them the beat from YouTube and rapped it, and it was a great, it went great.
Hell yeah.
That one, you said to perform.
I mean, we could expand it to just some of your favorite songs in general of yours.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably that one, dude. That one takes the cake for sure.
Hell yeah. No, I dig that.
Weapon too. Weapon also. that one's very fun.
Hell yeah. And then looking at some new music you're working on, so stuff that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
What are some of the characteristics or like newer or changes to the sound that you're working on that we can look forward to for stuff coming out next?
A more intricate look into who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a bit of an introverted person, and so, but I want to make a difference with the music.
Yeah.
And I want to impact people with it. And you can't impact people deeply on a surface level. We know with surface level music.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I mean, you can, but so that, and then also the different, there's going to be different sounds throughout my whole career. Like, I'm always going to be doing something different. So I'm always trying to push the bar lyrically, with my flows, with my ideas. And I always want the music to match. Like, I want, like, how do I say it? Like, I want the music to have the same passion that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm choosing a beat, it's because it's like a whole little universe in it, in my head, like that whole song is its own little universe almost. And so like, I'm really focused on like just expanding my horizons and kind of branching out a little bit, doing some more different sounds. I really like doing a lot of the rock type shit and like the singing, because like I've gotten better with it. And like I used to just be kind of not against it, but I was like, I'm a rapper, you know what I mean? But now I love being able to do everything.
No, and it definitely when I was listening to the new album, it really stands out, but like doesn't feel out of place. You know what I mean? Like there have been times where like people will punch one of those ins and you're like, oh, it was mixed by the same person who mixed all of the hip hop stuff, but they mixed it like hip hop and it doesn't have that weight. It doesn't have that grab.
Dude, shout out Jordan Green, your boy J-Dub, best engineer in Portland, best engineer in the fucking world. Love you, dude.
Hell yeah. But no, like I said, it was a fun change because it didn't feel out of place. Like it felt like it like worked well in the album, but it was still like, oh, okay.
Good. I'm happy that it didn't like seem out of place.
No, it wasn't jarring. And later on, when you like kind of expand on it a little bit differently, like it really kind of settles in. Like, what was it? Was it Smoking Jam? Is that what it's called?
Smoke Jam?
Sorry.
Smoke Jam's fun as
shit. That like when it gets to that point in it, you're like, oh, okay. Like I
had to make one like that.
Vibe it a little bit.
Yeah, I had to make one like that for the vibe, dude. That one. I haven't performed that one yet, but I feel like when I perform that one's going to be one of my favorites to perform.
That'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
That'll be a good late mid-April jam for sure.
Yes, sir. If you know, you know.
Yeah. And actually, it was funny when you mentioned it earlier. You were like, "Oh yeah, my dad's a drummer," and I wanted to be like, "And is your brother a skater?"
He is.
I know you said it in the song. I was gonna call it out earlier. I missed it.
Oh, dude, fuck. Okay, yeah. No, dude, you're good, man.
But getting back into it, because well, like I said, I'll run around on your album forever. I think it's really cool.
I appreciate it, man.
But looking at let's take a step back. Let's look at music as a whole.
Right.
What are some of the things about either new music in general or just newer music to you that you are enjoying right now and are finding inspiration from?
People are doing a lot of unique things, you know. Sometimes it's not your cup of tea, but I kind of get a little confused when a lot of the old heads say that every song sounds the same nowadays, because that's just not true.
Yeah,
it's not true at all. And I get inspired by that. Like I get inspired when I see somebody that's not afraid to be themselves and not afraid to try something different. And I think overall with music, the thing that I like about it nowadays is the accessibility that you have to all the different artists around different areas because of different platforms. And I think that's because people criticize the social media aspect a lot, and I do too, but I think eventually it's gonna hit like a breaking point with it, and then it's gonna kind of go back down to where it's like maybe not so like, it'll still be oversaturated, sure, but people will have a bit more of an appreciation for it, I feel like.
Yeah. No, I could definitely agree with that. And, you know, I've been asking that question for a while now, and I really like that the recurring answer is the variety that is now existing in music, because for a long time, I think music was so guided by its boundaries that like to do anything outside of it was almost deemed disrespectful. So like why would you put this in that? Why would you put that in this?
Yeah.
But really, it's just the tools that we make with music now are so vastly different than they were, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And the accessibility, like you said, I think there is a layer of oversaturation for sure. Like that is, but that doesn't mean that there hasn't always technically been. Like people have always wanted to make music in some way. It's just how far into the process they can get is different now. But that makes the appreciation stronger when you find the things that you connect with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Very much so. But we've got one last question to go in this middle portion. And this is probably the densest question in the interview.
Okay.
But we've talked a lot about, your experience with music, the actions, the reactions, things like that. But when it's just you and the music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
It gives me everything. Everything. Like, I don't really know how to describe that perfectly for people that, I don't know. It's like something that if I didn't have, I wouldn't know who I was or what I was doing. even if I'm talking about other people's music, like it's always been something that gives me energy. When I was a kid and like a good song would come on, like I remember like in my head, like just like about to jump out of my own body, you know, so excited. And I still feel that way when I hear a good song. And like there's been times, dude, where like my worst times of my life, and I'm just like randomly in the shower listening to a song, and I just get so excited for like, it's just like something about it I'm connected to. And when it comes to making my own music, it gives me an outlet. It gives me a way to express myself, and with the return for it is the deep dives that I do into myself when I do it, and also just being able to look at my creation. Like if I never blow up, okay, I'm okay with that, because first of all, I'm going to do everything in my power to make the best music that I can. And I'm not making music for people to like me. I'm making music that I want to hear.
Yeah. No, I dig that. It sounds like it gives you a sense of purpose almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I'm not just that, for sure. I'm obviously a lot of other things too as a person.
Yeah.
But that's a big chunk, man. It's a big chunk.
No, and I think, you know, that's the need for creativity is, I think, something that is really, it's become a little more diminished. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you get to do these things, you get to do those things. Like, oh, you have time for your hobby, you have but the need for creativity as human beings is one of the biggest things that sets us apart from just the general existence.
Yeah.
Like it's
otherwise we'd be monkeys, you know?
Well, I mean, like,
I'm not saying that to diss monkeys.
No.
Monkeys are cool.
They're good at what they do. But like, I mean, more it's just like we, like, as individuals, our creativity is what fuels us. It's the reason to get up in the morning. It's the reason to like, and it's not to say that people who like to hang out and don't really do a lot of things actively are in the wrong, but there's something so rewarding in life when you get to look at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, and be like, look at what I made.
Yeah.
Like, it just, you know, it's a sand garden. That's really, you know, what it is. You're creating these patterns, these movements, these elements to have something.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, for me too, it's like, kind of like you said, like a sense of purpose, but it's just like, you know, I'm naturally kind of a competitive person. Not like I want to be better than other people, but I'm just like competitive with myself.
Yeah. You want to be the best you.
And so with this, it gives me something to be my best self in, I feel like. And when I look back at something, like, even if I'm having like the worst year ever, I can be like, but I made this song.
Yeah.
And nobody else made this song. You know what I mean? Like, I made that, and even if other people don't view it the way that I view it, like, it doesn't change the way that I view it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like delusional, you know what I mean? I'm not like, oh, criticism, never heard of it, you know? But like, at the same time, like, it's like a painting, you know? If you see something in a painting but somebody else doesn't, that's okay.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think that, you know, you kind of touched on it well. Like, I always, for me, at least for the show, I always like to try to think, did I get to do like an interview for the day? Did I get to like take a step in the direction? And like, at the end of the day, the progress of just like being able to achieve something,
seeing what you've done.
Yeah. Like the little wins along the way, they accumulate over time, but they can only accumulate over time.
Yeah.
So if you, and you shouldn't beat yourself up, not saying you do, but like the general person shouldn't beat themselves up if they're like, man, it's been 2 months since I've done a thing. You could fix that. You could just do a thing.
Yeah.
You could just do it right now. And then it won't be 2 months since the last thing you did. It'll be 2 minutes, 2 days. Like, you know,
put yourself in the position.
Yeah. And again, like you said, at the end of the year, the more things you do in the moment, the more things you get to look back on. And those are moments those are time-stamped moments that you'll listen to that song forever.
Proof.
And always remember the thing that led to it, the moment you recorded it, the day you went into the studio with it, or the moment you bought like a new piece of gear to make that track happen.
Exactly.
Like, you get to put little bookmarks into your life that you don't have to remember 100% of the time, but you can relive every time you go back to it.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. I couldn't say it any better.
Hell yeah. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to some hypothetical questions. And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
I probably want to make a collab album with Metro Boomin.
Hell yeah.
Dude, Metro Boomin is he's so good. If Dr. Dre didn't exist, he's the GOAT. Dr. Dre will forever be the GOAT for me, but Metro is like, he's so dope. And the way that he's able to craft his work to the artist, and the artists are able to craft themselves with, it's just like one of a kind, dude. It's awesome. So probably that.
Hell yeah, that's a great answer. And a cool observation. Like, yeah, every time I hear his tag, every time I hear, the go Metro Boomin wants some more,
so
I don't think, okay, here's another Metro beat. I think, what is this going to be?
Yeah.
Like, like, anticipation for it of just being like, how is he going to make this?
Yeah, it's always an experience.
Yeah, very much so.
Even if it's something that's not super intricate, like, I don't know, man, his sound selection is top fucking tier, and I love it.
That is a great answer.
People call that glazing, but let me tell you, there is no such thing as glazing. It's called giving props to people and giving them their flowers, and you guys should do it more and not be scared of doing it, because that's a good thing.
Hell yeah. I mean, hey, that's half the design of the show here. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
I haven't done a song with Swiggle yet, but we've been talking about it for a while.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna get a song with him. Same with Indo Slim.
Oh, shout out Indo.
Both of them, they're my two, probably my top two in the city. They're my two favorites.
Yeah. That would be a solid. I mean, man, all three of y'all on a track would be wild.
I've been wanting to do that.
Wild.
Do that for sure. That would be hard.
Hell yeah. Well, everybody, you know what to do. At them in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen. And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
That's a good question, dude. Brazil. I want to perform in Brazil. I love Brazil. I've never been to Brazil, but I really want to fucking go to Brazil. Everything about Brazil that I've seen, at least, that I've experienced too. I've talked to a lot of Brazilian people, and Brazilian people overall, they're great people.
Yeah, very much so.
And they're passionate, man. They're passionate about music, about a lot of things. And when they're not shy to show you how passionate they are about it.
Yeah.
I just feel like a show in Rio would be so fun.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, that'd be rad.
It'd be crazy. Like, I don't know. It'd just be fun. Yeah, that's what comes to mind for sure.
Oh yeah, no, that's a solid answer. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Probably Joey Badass. Joey Badass is my favorite, basically. But I was gonna say A$AP Rocky, but I know he's dropping in August, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah. We'll save your answer for him, or give it to Joey instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, Joey's my favorite, dude. He All American Badass. I don't know if you've heard that album. My favorite hip hop album of all time. Always will be. I've spent fucking crazy amounts of hours listening to that album. I love that album, and I also love all his other work too. It's not just that album, but he's like one of my favorite artists. So if he could drop again, or like if he never dropped again, that'd probably suck the most out of all the people that I listen to.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great answer. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Wrap it up.
What can we look forward to between now and February?
Between now and February, I am dropping more music. I got a music video for Said and Done coming soon. Still working on my debut novel. I gotta drop it. I gotta, get everything ready. But that should be coming, maybe not by February, but within the next year or so.
Okay.
So pay attention for that one.
And you mean like a book?
Yeah, a book.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been writing the book since I was in high school.
Whoa.
Obviously, like, not page one, and then
no,
but it's gone through many brain cycles.
No, that's exciting. I haven't had too many people on the show say that they're working on a book, so now I'm very curious.
Yeah, the book is gonna be like a survival horror type of book. That's all I'm gonna say right now.
Okay.
Favorite genre, I care a lot about it. I've spent a lot of time making sure that I'm making something that matters, making something that says something, making sure that it says what I want it to say, and that it's a story that has all the elements that I like about storytelling. I love storytelling. I love film. If I could make a movie, I would make a movie. I just can't afford to make a movie.
I was going to say, hey, making a book is the first step to making a movie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah.
So those are the main things. Always more music.
Hell yeah. Oh, well, for this next one, go ahead and look at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on all platforms. It's just AlexFG. Nothing crazy. Except Instagram, it's at FilthyAlexFG. Because Instagram didn't let me just take the regular AlexFG. There's somebody else that thinks they're AlexFG, but I'm taking it over. It's AlexFG everywhere. Go find me on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, Shazam, goddamn Mercury, everywhere.
Oh, yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Shout out Lulu the Fool. Rest in peace to you, bro. I love you forever. Shout out Portland. Shout out everybody doing their thing. Go do your thing. I'm going to do mine. And I'll see y'all at the top.
Hell yeah. And with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know of, but it's one you think everybody should know.
I'm just going to say it because it's just so underrated. Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, Big L. It may not be the most obscure, like, abstract thing you've ever heard, but not by a long shot. But it's essential to hip hop. I feel like it's part of hip hop history, and it's like, I think it's up there with all the classic albums. It just doesn't really get its shine. That one is probably the one I would say.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great rec for sure.
I love that one. That one's one of my favorites.
Yeah. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm AlexFG.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.